I still hear his voice sometimes, the way it cut through that courtroom. Arrogant, cruel, like he really believed he could erase me with a line. "You think wearing a black dress gives you power?" That's what he said, right before yanking my arm up and locking me to a ceiling hook like I wasn't a person. That wasn't some back alley. That was a federal courtroom. And I wasn't just anybody. I wasn't some random defendant. I was Judge Elise Hartwell. But that day, they didn't call me by name. No booking, no case file, no due process. Just a dirty cruiser. No markings. No sirens. Driven by a cop who thought the rules didn't apply when the woman in the back seat looked like me. Bradley Carrick. Yeah, that's him. Short fuse, sharper tongue, always looking to prove something, especially when no one was watching. He dragged me through a side door meant for staff, not prisoners. No announcements, no paperwork, just silence. Like this was meant to be buried before it ever happened. When we walked into courtroom 3C, I knew the place was too quiet. The nameplate on the judge's bench was scratched out. Mine. And someone had slapped a crooked sticker over it. Temporary defendant. That sticker said everything about how far they were willing to go. Clerks looked away. The stenographer hadn't even powered up the machine. There was no trial. This was theater. And I was supposed to play the fool. Sit down, shut up, let the boys do their thing. But I didn't play along. I sat in that chair and stared at the spot where my name used to be. I didn't cry, didn't shout. I waited. Because I knew something they didn't. The show they were putting on, it was already being recorded. Brad threw fake charges at me like darts. Resisting arrest, verbal aggression. It was nonsense, and he knew it. He didn't even bother making eye contact, just mumbled his little script like it was enough to bury me. Then he pulled me from the courtroom and into a back room, one with no windows, no cameras, no witnesses. Or so he thought. He shoved me into a chair, leaned in, and whispered, "When there's no judge, no jury, no witness, there's just me." And then he smiled, like he was proud of that line, like that was his moment. But here's the thing, there was a witness. A tiny red light in the corner he didn't see. A surveillance backup I helped implement years ago for emergency cases just like this. And all it took was one phrase. "I confirm this action is real and is happening." He didn't flinch. He was too wrapped up in his own performance. He lifted me onto a metal chair, strapped one of my wrists to a ceiling ring, pulled out his phone, and started recording. "This is how we restore order," he said, like he was filming a promo for cruelty. And I just stood there. No panic, no fear, just calm. Then I said it. "This is the third time I've been threatened with hanging. This time it's inside a courtroom." He paused. For the first time, I saw something flicker behind those eyes, like maybe he'd gone too far, but it was already too late. That red light was live. The recording went straight to federal oversight. The clip? 37 seconds. That's all it took. And within minutes, it was everywhere. Internal networks, watchdog forums, legal hotlines. You can't stop a truth that's finally had enough. Brad panicked, pulled his SIM, turned off his phone, tried to erase it all. But Clay, the head of security downstairs, he'd seen me get dragged in. He connected the dots. And once Clay got involved, there was no burying anything. When I walked back into that courtroom, I didn't say a word. I just stepped up to the bench, the one they tried to erase me from. The room went still. Brad was already sitting there, legs crossed like he owned the place. When he saw me, he laughed. "So this is your big revenge, huh?" he sneered. "You want to play judge again?" I didn't need to play. I was the judge. And the form he signed that morning without reading, it made him the key witness in an oversight hearing. A hearing I was now presiding over. I pressed play on the main screen. Up came the footage, him dragging me, restraining me, mocking me, word for word, face full of pride. His smirk dropped. "You can't be judge and victim," he said. "That's not how this works." I looked right at him. "And you thought you could be judge, jury, and executioner all at once?" Clay walked in, no fuss, no words, just dropped Brad's security badge on the table. "Access revoked," he said. Brad tried to leave. Card didn't work. Access denied. Then the floodgates opened. One clerk stood up, admitted she'd deleted a harassment report to keep her job. Another man confessed to covering up footage years ago. An elderly woman held up a photo of her daughter, 14 years old, gone too soon, after being ignored by the same system. And then, a little girl. She didn't speak, just held up a sign. "If you survived, maybe I can believe in justice too." I didn't need to shout. I just showed them who Brad really was. Then I dropped the hammer, the internal chat logs, every racist message, every meme, every officer who laughed. I let their names speak for themselves. No commentary needed. Brad sat there frozen, sweat on his brow, eyes darting like a man who just realized the fire was real and the extinguisher was fake. He had called it a performance. But now, he was the only actor left on stage, and no one was clapping. I looked at him one last time. "Unless you plan to rewrite the Constitution," I said, "I am still a sitting judge." Nobody argued. Nobody moved. The system saw itself, maybe for the first time. And I get it. Not everyone's going to agree with how this played out. Some will say, I used my seat to strike back. But tell me this. When the law gets hijacked to break you, and the only tools left are your truth and your silence, what would you do? So let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts below. Have you seen injustice like this? Have you lived it? Or do you still think silence is safer? Because I'm done being silent. And maybe it's time we all stopped looking away.